Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Asterix movie. Today, we're doing one of the not-so-good ones.
Oh boy, this is my third Asterix thing.
Well, me and Taylor have agreed to leave the best movie, aka the most
For
recent
last,
one, for last.
And to be fair, Jova, there's not much of these animated ones, so we're not gonna spend too much time, hanging around on these.
And these movies are short, as you can see.
So tell me, Pedro, what makes this, not so great, but a good third thing for me and Dwibs to look at?
Well, this movie, for the record, Goscinny and Uderzo had nothing to do with this movie. That by itself, normally you would assume it would be, raise an eyebrow. But then again, the two more recent CGI movies didn't have them either, and yet they're brilliant. So not necessarily a bad thing. Not necessarily a bad thing.
This is actually one of those stories that actually products that combines two existing books of Goscinny and Uderzo and merges into one big story, specifically Asterix the Legionary and Asterix the Gladiator. I have a bit more experience with the first one. I did read the latter, but it was way too young. The problem is that the story that meshes up that they came up with is not great. Again, I will mention this again in the final thoughts, but I really would recommend you to read Asterix the Legionary on its own. It's a better alternative than this.
It's a similar problem I have with the Tintin movie by Spielberg. It takes 3 books and meshes them into a single 100-minute movie, and it doesn't work at all. And I don't, not to mention the incredibly weird creatures that were made with that movie. And this movie also has very weird creative choices.
Anyway, for the title, this is called Asterix versus Caesar, or in French, Astérix et la surprise de César, which means Asterix and Caesar's surprise.
It involves Caesar's birthday, basically.
Pretty much. We are using an actual YouTube, someone actually posted this on YouTube, and the bots haven't got this person yet in 3 years. So for the time being, I will put a link in the description. But if it doesn't work, regardless, I will just suggest you find your own copy, essentially.
Exactly.
You had to start before the logo of the company that distributed this, because this is probably a DVD rip. Come on. So start before that.
That being said, hold on. We need to go for the formalities. Okay, so it's the year 50 BC. All of Gaul is occupied. All of it? No. There is one tiny village that still resists, still and always, to its invader. Why? Because they have a magic potion that gives them super strength. And that's basically all the information you need for the purpose of this movie. So
yep.
So all right, 3, 2, 1, click.
So this movie is technically called Asterix versus Caesar, despite the title saying Asterix and.
I don't know what the uploader thought, Jova.
Is this like a rip-off of the DreamWorks logo or something?
Actually, that little animation that you just saw, that was the little prince and his rose. So I had to wonder. So
Gaumont is distributing. Gaumont is an actual French company, so. And yes, you can tell this was done in 1985, and the soundtrack tells it immediately.
And before you ask everybody, no, you're not hearing it wrong. They left the songs in the original French, but don't worry, it's the English.
Yeah, even the Italian dub, they kept it. The composer has been Vladimir Cosma, a Romanian-born French composer. Interesting. He has a very prolific career, but it's mostly French stuff. I don't think, aside from this, there's a major movie that's known to others overseas audience. Yeah, there you go, Vladimir Cosma. I remember seeing this one when I was relatively little, actually, 6 or 7 years old. My family actually had a bunch of Asterix VHSs that had these kind of old movies. And let's just say that this was one of the more horrifying to me.
Really?
The thing is, that's the thing, Jovan. From the press to movies, you should take the fact that Asterix stories are comedic in nature. Sure, represent some conflict, but you have a good time, you have a laugh in this. This is a joyless story. Not even joking.
How do you do that with Asterix?
To be fair, it's not devoid of comedy. There is comedy in this movie. It's just that the comedy doesn't have that over-the-top slapstick style that is iconic to this franchise. It's very weirdly subdued and restrained, and it doesn't really fit with Asterix.
What's weird, because from what I've heard, even the live-action movies at least made sure to keep the actual goofy nature of it. So you're telling me that this movie doesn't?
No, and also keep in mind, Joe, I remember, Tales of Asterix was the movie before. This one was in 1976.
Oh, that was literally the first one I saw.
This had like a 9-year gap or something.
Wait, hold on.
It's it feels like I'm watching an anime dub where everything's in English except the songs.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me, too, that literally the last movie before this was made in 1976?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did the franchise go on ice or something? Jeez.
No, France doesn't really have a concept of serialized, at least back then did not have a concept of serializing in mass these. So there was always a gap between these. There was a couple two in the 60s, one in the 70s, 3 in the 80s, 1 in the 90s, 1 in the early 2000s, and 2 in the 2010s. So
I guess those are like the most recent ones.
Yes, but
Obelix has got a crush.
Yeah, this is the incipient. This is the part where it's taken from Asterix the Legionary. The thing that settles out the conflict in this story is the fact that Obelix actually gets a crush on someone.
I will give it this. The animation has taken a noticeable step up.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same studio.
There's one thing.
I mean, it's the mid 80s, so you'd expect things to improve a little bit.
Yes, Major?
Yeah, I will definitely give it that. Visually speaking, this movie pretty much captures the look of Uderzo's style pretty well. The character designs are not 100% spot on, but whatever, they're like 90% spot on.
It looked like they had some interesting rotoscoping going on with those hogs, though. Interesting detail.
I can tell this, Jova, for the English dub, the casting is pretty much completely different from the one of the 12 Tasks of Asterix.
Right. Now that visual gag of the guy bringing a very small diminutive present on, yeah, that's exactly the kind of joke Goscinny would write. So that's cool.
This is because it's Caesar's birthday, so everyone in the provinces of Rome is bringing presents to him.
Right.
Cheese, fruit.
All right, Jova, I'll leave it to you to leave the usual, product of its time,
Yes, problematic imagery. That definitely was a product of its time. They thankfully seem to have gotten better with it in the Mansion of the Gods by the time of that. I can't speak on their most recent film, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, the only one that I can think of possibly is the African pirate, but even then he's only like on
the one on the
for
helmet. Yeah,
2 seconds anyway.
But let me guess, it doesn't make him happy because what he wants is that one village gone.
Yep.
Well, actually, surprisingly, he's not exactly thinking of the village specifically right now. He just wants an amazing Colosseum event.
True. In true Roman tradition.
So this movie is called Asterix versus Caesar, which is kind of a weird name. Like, doesn't that kind of go with
an actual weird name. No, that's the thing, Jova. Neither of the two stories that this is taken from have that title. But to be fair, even the French title has nothing to do with the titles of the two books that it's taken from. And you know what's
like I said, is Asterix and Caesar's Surprise, as in birthday surprise. So. And
the worst part is that the first live-action movie takes inspiration from this title because it's called Asterix and Obelix versus Caesar.
Well, okay. My main issue with a title like that is, well, doesn't that...
sorry, movie, you kind of forgot Sicily in that map? Excuse me, where's the island? Sorry, Jova, go on.
But yeah, I mean, with a title like Asterix versus Caesar, I kind of have to say, well, no friggin' duh, Asterix versus Caesar. Isn't that kind of the point of the whole franchise anyway?
It's interesting to say that, Jova, because the game we commentated on, that was recorded by me, that game actually did have the final mission be Asterix versus Caesar, and it actually went with that. Remember too? So So yeah, so leave it to the game, leave it to freaking Konami to get that title to actually work.
I know, right?
Also, I get the Centurion as not waking up properly.
Well, to be fair, Teo, this Centurion is probably at a point where he's just tired of life.
It's part of a job. Yeah, of course, newbie.
Did he just call me a dummy?
Yes.
Oh, sure.
They kill pigs! Oh no!
Gasp.
This is another thing. The pacing of this movie is questionable.
Yeah, I was about to ask.
Did you notice the transition between the dialogue the Centurion was having with the Legionnaire to this scene? Like, we literally transitioned into this scene before the previous scene was actually over.
Well,
I get the idea. That's the thing. They're trying to mimic this type of transition that also happens in the comics, you know.
What works in a comic will not necessarily work in a movie.
True,
Okay.
but I have seen movies and you know, animated and live action that employs this technique, and it's fine. So it's not a problem on transposition. It's just how it was executed here.
Okay. I think
2003.
please.
No, Dave, I'm talking something else.
Okay. I think I get what they were trying to go with that. It's the typical, oh, somebody says one thing, but then a scene playing over it completely contradicts what they're saying. Like they say, oh, they're bloodthirsty, but we see them...
Oh my god, Obelix
Like a boar.
shit serious.
This is okay. He's sick. We need to do something about this. Be careful with that. Get a fix.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't seem too preoccupied by it.
Does this happen to him often?
We're gonna have to fix that.
Not often, no.
Oh no.
Oh no, they're bad enough. They're bad enough the size they are, but bigger.
Ugh.
Well, if it helps you, Dibs, that bee is just kind of about to disappear from the movie.
Pretty much.
Now. There you go.
Well, that happened.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Hasn't she been in your village before? I mean, I get it, you know.
This is one of those. Panacea was a character created just for that issue, Asterix the Legionary. But it's like, oh, we're pretending she has been all along. So.
Well, actually, to be fair, the story and this movie actually do explain that in a moment.
All right.
So, is this the plot of this movie that
I'll to
Obelix?
explain
Oh,
all in a moment.
All right, I forgot.
ah.
There you go. She has been away for a long time, basically. She's
True.
been studying abroad.
Okay, kudos for them actually bothering to
It's the
explain.
transfer student cliche drama.
I read all the books, so I know this crap.
Of course, love stuttering.
Of course. Okay, to be fair, 1985, at the time...
Not just that. Obelix is a person with a simple mind, so it's actually more, you know, logical to expect this kind of behavior from him.
Well, yeah, I totally believe that lady comes from exactly the same time period that these guys are from.
Okay, I actually do see what Dwibs means. Her art style is alien in a sense. Like, okay, maybe it's because she was drawn at a later year, but I mean, it's weird. The characters feel like they come from a different time date that
She's
she
an
does.
animal.
Yeah, I can actually understand what Jova's point is. Most of every other goal, and remember, this character was not created for this movie. This was the character that was originally created by Uderzo and Goscinny. So she's a proper Asterix character. She wasn't invented for this movie. But I do understand Jova's point. Yeah, every goal, regardless of gender, before her creation and her husband's creation, always feels cartoonish to some extent in their design.
She seems more anime-ish.
I forgot the English name, but Tragicomics and Panacea don't look cartoonish. They look like Wib said, they look more like an anime characters.
Yeah. And yes, Pedro, those are the names for the English version.
Right down to the eyes too.
Not to mention it's incredibly out of place and time. So what is this like? Is this like one of those weird shows that has what TV tropes called anachronisms?
I actually understand the idea.
That has what TV tropes calls anachronisms, Stu.
As someone who knows Goscinny from reading all of the Lucky Luke books and Asterix books, let me tell you this, Dwips. I can tell exactly what was the idea. Goscinny wanted to pass on the message that Tragicomics and Panacea are not the typical insane goals that we're used to.
Yeah.
They're down to earth. They behave more like real people. As a result, Uderzo drew them in a more realistic proportions.
I don't hate that, actually. I mean, okay, I've actually seen a lot of franchises that do something like that. It's an interesting idea. It's just something about how it's conducted in this movie feels... I don't know.
I know, right?
Well, it's, okay. It's like I said, it's not just the fact that she has a different art style, but it looks like she was drawn in a different time day. Like, something about her seems like she's animated in some ways better than the other characters. Like, let me put it like this. It's like if, per se, you saw a character with 90s animation embedded into a world where most people are supposed to look like they're from the 60s or whatnot. It's just like, well, she looks more updated. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's like, well, it's like her model seems a lot more crisp than the others for some reason.
It's like, it's like what I said. It's like what I've said about mid-80s. It's like what I said about mid-80s Disney films, only in this case it's all in one character as opposed to the whole movie. Whereas in a different time, and yet it still looks like it was made in another era.
Anyway, for minor...
Go ahead.
For minor news about the voice actors, Asterix is voiced by Jack Bieber, who actually has only 3 roles in his entire career, and Obelix by Billy Kearns, who actually has an extensive career until the early 90s. But I think most of these actually return for the movie was done after this Asterix and the Magic Potion, which basically is Asterix goes to the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yes, more on that another time, Lives.
Well, actually, technically the title is Asterix in Britain.
I know, but, for Lives' convenience, so that why was what it was about.
Of course, Obelix has
Even, what are you doing here?
Turns out she has a husband.
Well, husband, but if you put a shirt on.
Wait, well, actually, no. Technically, they don't get married until later. As of right now, they're just engaged.
Yeah.
Fiance.
I mean, I'll just say
engaged, but yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what it means.
Well, okay, at least they're not going to do the stereotypical thing and make him be a jerk who then Obelix needs to get her away from.
Okay, I will get these. So both of the comic and the actual animated stories is actually more chill when it comes to the love triangle. They don't do... This is basically the extent of how much you go for.
I will say this, though. That said, though, what was the point of wasting film time on that?
Because it will still be a plot point.
To laugh at Obelix.
I actually really like that comment from that Roman. Like, okay, is that one of the dangerous animals? No, that one's harmless. Okay, so this is my chance. This is my first chance. And then the guy goes like, and perhaps the last one.
Okay. Kudos to them for jokes like that. But yeah, I think I am starting to see what you guys meant about this kind of... Oh, there's the bee again.
Never mind, I forgot that the bee actually returns one more time.
But yeah, I think I see what you meant about this being kind of... Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I see what you and Tio meant about this kind of being a bit joyless in comparison, and like, well, oh, look at that! A lot of the humor comes from Obelix's misery. And I get it, misery from comedy and all that. But, like, it really does feel literally like a bit of a depressing move, and it turns out...
And yeah, this is one of the major changes from which starts immediately happening from Asterix. In the book Asterix the Legionary, Tragic Comics actually basically gets conscripted into joining the Roman army. Here, instead, gets captured by Roman soldiers.
So that's basically the story of Discount He-Man here.
I guess all that brawn was just for show.
I will say this: the main theme they came up with for this movie is actually pretty catchy.
I mean, it was done in the 80s after all.
You mean narrative theme or the music theme?
The music. Dun, 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 dun. I still remember it to the
yeah, me too.
Day. So
okay. Really, so I think we finally have our.
I actually like this one. Sarcasm in a moment.
Sure.
You're fired!
Yeah, we really need a shot like that in an Asterix.
Remember, Pedro, God has the filters always ready.
That said, though, there is kind of
he's literally washing his hands away. Symbolic.
That said, though, I do see the point, though. It's like, hey, dumbass, you kidnapped 2 of them, the rest of the village might come after us. And they have access...
Speak of the devil? Yep, exactly.
So, yeah...
This is a common thing in the stories, so yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'll give him kudos to this for the guy in charge actually being genre savvy, because, you know, you'd think that, oh, they think it's a good guy, but no, he's been around long enough to know that this is a terrible idea.
Makes sense, Jova. That actually happens a lot in Goscinny's original stories, Jova, because these Romans have been surrounding the village for... Well, that's the thing. Like, you'd think would be years, but, you know, like, these characters never age. So they've been here for infinite amount of time until the writers stop writing stories, basically. So they already know how the Gauls work, how they react to things. So this is actually common in the franchise anyway.
Okay, do we really need to spend this much time to this scene?
Yes, Jova. It kind of is a requirement because you know the kind of the process of the magic potion is kind of a character in itself because in each movie it kind of is super inconsistent. We never know what the actual ingredients are. Even in the more recent movies, they kind of tease a bit of in a bit of a cheeky way.
What is he even trying to make? A soup that can...
No, that's the magic potion, Lives. I was just saying.
The magic potion that gives them super
yeah,
strength.
the one that basically turns the entire town into Popeyes.
Basically
yeah. Well, actually, Theo... Oh, hold on. Sarcasm. Yeah, the guy who wrote this movie loves sarcasm.
Also, requirement to mention the fact that Obelix doesn't need it because he fell into it when he was a baby. It's a shame they never actually adapted that story.
Well, regardless. Well, actually, remember, Theo, I mean, you haven't read The Golden Scythe yet, have you? Basically, remember, Theo, in Secret of the Magic Potion, they even bring back a reference to the Golden Scythe, aka...
I know that, but the books never explain, not even explain, never tells explicitly what all the ingredients and the process of making are. Sure, they give you snippets here and there, for example, you know, Getafix needs the golden scythe, then sometimes he needs specific ingredients, like I forgot which specific story, but he needs for fucking petroleum at some point.
And this is a running... Yeah, this is a running thing in the books. The goals!
Here's also another thing that detracts. For some of these fight scenes, the scenes gets desaturated from colors.
Yeah.
I don't get
what was up with that?
They try to make the scene gloomy and dark. Zack Snyder took over.
Well, Theo, like you yourself said, God is up there in the clouds going, ooh, a fight scene. They're going to need a darker filter for that.
Yeah, if Zack Snyder was God in this occasion.
Are they trying to save money on the animation or something?
More like the colorist.
Well, not so much, Drizz. The only thing that changed was
it's like in order to make the fight scenes look better, they have to cut back on something, and in this case, it's the color palette.
Yeah, the color palette is the only real change. The animation itself still seems fine.
And it's not like it is intentional for the fight scene. So I get the idea they want to, despite the fact that the fight is comedic already around, they still have this gloomy tone for no real reason.
It is. This is a weird movie.
I mean, check if there's anything talking about development.
And don't get me wrong, everybody. As me and Ter will explain when we get the Secret of the Magic Potion, it is possible. Up until recently, I didn't think it was possible to create a tense story in an Asterix franchise and make it work 100%. But let's just say recently, these miracle workers that are Astier and Quiji managed to make it work. But we'll get to that.
But yeah, I definitely see what you mean.
About the recent movie?
Yes.
Secret of the Magic Potion, yes.
So, yeah, I'm noticing a pacing issue in this movie. Like, I get it, them beating up the Romans is a typical thing, but something about that felt awfully climactic, yet it feels like, well, yeah, we're barely 20 minutes over the end.
Off he goes.
So what...
But there's the thing, Jova, one thing that you spot on. The pacing in this movie is often in the fact that it drags. This is a story where it feels like at least 2 hours when it's barely half of that time. Yeah,
that's cute.
Yakta, thanks.
The dinosaur cast.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, don't get me wrong. And now I guess Asterix and Obelix need to go on their own.
That's actually your main plot now. Asterix and Obelix well to find out Tragicomics and Panacea.
So that's the plot, I guess. Now,
yeah. Okay. To be fair, this is exactly this is the basic Asterix formula. Something happens, and Asterix and Obelix have to go on some kind of journey, and Asterix brings in a little thingy with magic potion on his belt, and we just have to do something. This is the basic Asterix formula.
I don't think that's my main major issue with this movie. I think my major issue is this movie felt like it was trying to claim it was going to do something different, only to then just do it. Like, it felt like it kind of wasted time more than anything.
Oh, I actually like this one. We talked over it, but we have to stop them from acting. Okay, fine. And then you piss the crap out of them. No, we just have to stop them. Well, I did stop them. Sometimes we have to be nice, Obelix. And I was going to show. Hold on. Yeah, and now I love Obelix's reaction.
Yeah.
Again, this is something actually taken from the Asterix and Legionary book.
Yeah, so it's not even an original joke to this movie. Again, that's a Goscinny joke. Goscinny was a brilliant comedic writer, so...
Ugh.
So, I think I also get another thing that I'm not really digging about the plot here. The plot is literally them trying to find 2 Gauls who were kidnapped by a rather inept Roman soldier who just took them somewhere.
Because he had a good opportunity, yeah.
He wanted to prove himself.
I mean, okay.
Griffey, get it, Jova.
So, yeah, and literally his commanding officer just told them to take them... wherever, I guess, like...
All right.
Okay. That's actually a clever bit on Obelix's part.
Again, this is Goscinny's original joke from the book. Again, Goscinny was a fantastic writer. The movie's at its best when it's just doing the scenes from the source material, basically.
I think my major issue with this movie is it feels like it's clearly trying to be one thing as opposed to what it really is. I'm not going to say it's trying to get us to take things uber serious, but it does feel like it's trying to get us to take some things more serious than, well, it has any right to be.
It's more so the fact that, like I said, unless you're doing something like every time the movie's not doing something that's taken straight from the source material that this is adapted from, it feels off and weird.
Okay. For the sake of using a margin, I'll compare this to the first ever Asterixing you showed me. Asterix and the 12 Challenges.
The 12 Task of Asterix. The 12 Task of Asterix, yeah.
That was not only, I feel, a good entry point, but something that, even in and of itself, does put an interesting spin on the whole Asterix and Obelix are on this questing or whatnot here and there, you know? It was 12 different and very funny tasks that were each solved in different manners here and there. This, I guess, if anything, this feels like something that would have been better as like a first entry, which sets the stage as opposed to supposedly being a variation. Because, again, I've only seen like 2 other Asterix movies, and to be fair, the second one I saw is Mansion of the Gods, which came after this. But I don't know, this one doesn't feel like it has as much creative backbone to it. And yes, that is also taking into account that this is adapting itself off of a comic or whatnot.
That's the thing, Jova. Like Theo said, this is 2 comics merged into one, and it's weird.
So not just that, like for example, right now we're adapting another major scene for Asterix the Legionary. The fact that we're treating essentially the recruitment as boot camp, but none of the actual barbarians are taking this shit seriously, and we're making the surgeon training structure go mad. Also, get it? The Iberian has a guitar. Haha.
Yeah, because stereotypes. Cuisine. Kitchen, for those who don't know.
Not the guitar.
I actually like this reaction for him.
Oh.
So essentially, Asterix and Obelix's plan is to, of course, infiltrate the Roman Empire so that they can find the 2 Gauls.
Pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Again, I know I shouldn't be, like, too invested, but I think maybe it's a combination of us not really knowing that much about the 2 Gauls in particular, and all this and that.
There's also the other...
Don't worry, Jova. I can tell you that that's not even a fault of the movie itself. Even in the books, Comics and Panacea are as bland characters as you can get.
True, but I argue that at least the book spent just a bit more time to build them up, at least just a bit. The movie doesn't spend enough time to establish them.
Okay. A bit of a trade secret. This is the 3rd Asterixing I'm seeing with you guys, but in between I have actually seen another Asterix movie, or part of it anyway, the one where they go to America or whatnot. And even that...
Okay.
Yes. And from what I saw of that, even that felt like at least it had bigger stakes that I could actually care about, and, interesting stuff as well to go with it. That was an interesting spin on stuff. And, okay, look, stuff like this, like them infiltrating the Roman Empire, that's cool and all. It's just that at the end of the day, the goal is something that I don't find myself caring about as much.
Yeah. This is also in stark contrast with other stories that have a similar premise, like aka Asterix and Obelix have to go somewhere to help someone or fetch something else. Because, like you just said, the thing that we have to, the people that we have to actually get back to are not that interesting. Other stories prefer to just stick with an object that we need to find, which leaves more time for just Asterix and Obelix to see what surrounds them more than anything.
So far, what I'm seeing here so far is just them just faffing around with the Romans trying to do something.
That's the thing, Dwebs.
That's the problem, Dwebs. This is the Asterix books are comedies, and when Goscinny writes this crap, it does it brilliantly. These writers, not so much.
Okay.
Actually, Mitch, I think it was only one writer. There you go. Pierre Pierre Cherniakowski. Oh, interesting. He was French, but he has a Russian last name. The thing is that, apparently he worked on most of these adaptations. He worked on this one. He worked on Asterix and Cleopatra, then in Britain, Asterix in Britain, than the Vikings movie, I think. Oh, that's because he was actually a friend of Kurshine Uderzo, and he actually got illustrated as a cameo in some of the books.
I think if I may build off of Dibs' point a bit, though, the whole them faffing around with the Romans thing, that's the thing. From what I understand, this is something that the franchise normally does, which I get. The difference is like, well, in the good versions, it's able to mask, you know, the fact that there's a formula to it by, again, putting enough of an interesting variation or giving you stuff to care about here. In the 12
having really funny jokes as well.
Okay. Again, going back to my past examples, with the 12 challenges, the stakes were that this was going to be, for that particular movie, the ultimate and final battle with Caesar. Okay, you've got my attention. With Mansion of the Gods, they actually did an interesting spin where the Gauls are slowly tricked into sort of incorporating into the Roman tradition, starting ironically with Asterix and Obelix. That was friggin' brilliant here. And with
it's one of the main... Sorry, go ahead and finish your point.
And with the Asterix and Obelix Go to America one, again, stakes were, well, that they were running out of potions, so the guy needed to apparently get ingredients, from there, here and there. Again...
Exactly.
Go on.
That was the great thing about Goscinny. Even though the basic formula was always there, he was always able to, like Jova said, put an interesting spin on things, and of course the hilarious comedic writing carried it through. That's one of the big reasons why the more recent books by the new authors don't particularly stand out, because they play the formula so safe and don't never really try anything different. They just play the formula so completely straight that it's just like, okay, it's the same tale, it's the same shtick all over again.
Yes, Dweebs?
Well, to be fair, when the original author tried to do something different, didn't that not turn out very well, and so they're scared of repeating that mistake?
Oh, you're talking about The Falling Sky. That's the thing. The Falling Sky was not written by Goscinny. By the time that movie came around, Goscinny had already died, and Uderzo, the character designer, he was writing as well. Because originally, it was two creators. Uderzo, the guy who draws, and Goscinny, the guy who writes. Goscinny died, so Uderzo, the remaining guy, decided to just, okay, from this point on, I'll just draw and write all by my own. And at first, he was fine. I like Asterix. I like the Son of Asterix book. It's an interesting, again, it's another book that really does something different to the formula.
Let me guess, newer generation.
No. The first three books Uderzo wrote were perfectly fine, and actually really good, I thought.
Oh no, page.
Then Sky come in, and yeah.
I was just guessing that, the Son of Asterix has to deal with, like, a new generation of characters or whatnot, because, Son of Asterix. Well,
no. Let's just say, Jova, the title is deceiving you.
Okay. So, what was wrong with Falling Sky? Was that a book or movie?
It involves aliens. Fucking aliens,
Jova. Yeah, that's when you know a series has jumped the shark, when it brings in aliens.
Let's get this, Jova. They're aliens on the same vein. Hold on, they're aliens in the same vein of the Great Gazoo, or whatever it's called, or the Flintstones.
Yeah.
I mean, unless the show itself is weird, or franchise is weird enough that having aliens isn't that big of a deal, then bringing in aliens like that could be a
hold on, dudes, I'm gonna have to interrupt you there, because this is the first batch of mean-spiritedness from this movie.
Wait, and the first batch?
And now this guy is gonna try and rape and a sexual assault.
Panacea. I am not even joking.
I am not even joking.
So, where's the comedy in that?
There's also that's also the other fact. This is also the other fact that I wanted to mention. Even when the book is trying to adapt the jokes from the original, the movie is trying to adapt jokes from the original book. There's obviously something wrong with it, mostly also due to the color palette. For example, that scene where they were walking on with the sunset behind him, the color were so muted and aggressively dark.
And they just escape that easily.
Yeah, this is also the point where the movie does whatever it wants, because in the original tragicomics are only being conscripted. Asterix and Obelix reach in the Saharan desert. They fight an actual war. They actually rescue him because he was taken a prisoner from the enemy forces, essentially. And Caesar being a good sport, actually forgives all of them because they technically helped him win a war.
Let me guess. Because they've escaped, this is going to extend the plot more, isn't it?
Yep.
Basically. And again, it goes in a completely different direction anyway. Like, again, I haven't read Asterix the Gladiator in a very long time, so I don't remember how much fitting to that is this.
The Gladiator part isn't even in yet. Right now, we're just basically doing the Legionnaire.
No, I know. It's just that, when it comes around, I won't be able to recognize it immediately.
Actually, that's a good point. Going back to the pacing, wasn't there this whole plot point about Caesar having a party? Where'd that go?
That's because, Jova, the whole birthday thing that we were talking about, that's from the Gladiator book. And now we put the Gladiator book on pause so we can do the Legionary storyline.
Okay.
You see the problem here?
Okay. There's such an easy and obvious way to tie it in, though. Maybe tie it in that these guys are doing this whole war thing for Caesar's party or whatnot here and there, but they don't even do that.
There's also a point to don't, because as far as I know, this is actually the only one of the animated movies that actually does this mashing thing.
It's like this. It's like the series of unfortunate events movie. It tries to mash the first 3 books into one movie, and as a result, it leaves at least one of them getting the shaft.
The only time...
Oh, silly me. There is actually another animated movie that does that, and this is the other one that I really don't like, Asterix and the Big Fight.
But okay, that's the thing. Okay. Here's how I would do an animated Asterix outside of maybe doing original stories like Astier and Clichy are doing. Take the Tintin approach. Create an animated series of 40-minute episodes where each episode is just one of the books. The Tintin animated series from the 90s is basically a near perfect adaptation of the source of Vergay's books. It's basically the books put on screen. There's the occasional difference here and there, but it's great. That's the approach I should have gone with, not movies, not OVA-style movies. Especially because they only adapted basically a fraction of the book. There are so many interesting stories that they could have actually adapted, but they didn't. Yes, Jova?
So is that all we get from the whole Asterix and Obelix join the Roman army subplot?
Pretty much.
Pretty much. Now we go into original territory.
Jesus, that was...
I love how every time we cut back to Panacea and Tragicomics, the movie drops whatever comedy it had.
Don't worry, Jova. Secret of the Magic Potion will be able to pull this off unbelievably well. I still don't understand what hell kind of deal with the devil Astier made to be able to write that script.
So let me guess, the two once again get captured, only this time it's by Egyptians.
Yep.
So...
Is it Egyptians? I don't even...
Yeah, so they are, but it's irrelevant anyway because they're going to be sold to the Romans in a minute.
So not only is this movie working off a formulaic plot, but the movie itself is becoming formulaic now? Like, these two get kidnapped, and then Asterix and Obelix chase after them.
Correct. All right, now...
Yeah, they're going to be sold as slaves. Fantastic.
Yeah, slavery.
Aren't you having fun, Dweebs?
Okay, so I actually have something to talk about. This particular slave market and this particular slave seller, this is an homage to another book, actually. That's not part of the two. Again, this particular part of the movie is kind of a bridge between Legionary and Gladiator, and it's kind of based on Asterix and Caesar's. Remind me, Theo, what's the English term for the thing that he has on his head?
Oh, I get it. The laurel, I think, but I forgot what's the name of the English story. Let me check in a second.
Well, regardless, it's based on a different story. But you know that thing that Caesar has on his head? Basically,
there's a story tied to that.
Basically, there's a storybook tied to that, and right now we're loosely basing it off that book. again, this is such a mess. Why not just pick a book and adapt that book?
There we go. Asterix and the Laurel Reef.
Okay.
What a title.
Weird. Again, like, so technically, Theo, this is 3 books in one when you get right down to it.
Just like the first live-action movie. Yes, even those tend to do that.
And the Spielberg Tintin movie. Because that worked out so well as well,
I can't wait to see the Lucky Luke first major movie that condenses 5 stories into one. Also, this scene is still going.
Again, you know, I can't believe it. So this movie is taking a plot from a comic book and needlessly stretching it out and taking away what sounds like a much more awesome ending with, you know, Asterix and Obelix kind of helping out the Roman Empire for once.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting, too? Oh, sorry, go ahead, finish.
Like, again, I mean, I haven't seen it, but the ending you're describing sounds a lot more interesting than, well, the ending
it is. Again, I will reiterate this at the end, Jova. Basically, just go read Asterix the Legionary. Even Linkara, basically, Linkara did a review of it, Jova, if you're interested.
And he knows nothing about Asterix.
To check it out a bit, if you want.
And he really liked it.
Nice.
Ha ha ha! Funny.
Well, they're slave traders, so
slave traders who clearly do not know what they're dealing with.
Obviously. Okay, what is it? You know what's the interesting thing too?
What?
Did you notice how the actual slave seller that actually did the selling of Panacea and Tragicomics? You know that guy right there that even ended that show with the. The interesting thing there is that remember that guy that showed up before that guy, the guy with the yellow scarf or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
That's the original slave seller from the book.
Interesting casting cameo.
So they replaced him with a different guy, even though they're doing his part of the.
Why?
What even?
I don't know.
Lol.
Because fuck it, we're off the rails now.
This is like when you play like
yes,
the Colosseum. Yes, this is like when you play.
We're back to the Asterix and the Gladiator. Okay.
Yeah.
We switched books again. Now we're doing this book.
This is like when you play Pokemon's Emerald and you're like at Sutopolis City and you're like expecting the water gym leader, but you find Juan instead. You're like, wait, what?
You know what this is, Lips? This is a 3-man tag team match, except the 3 men are 3 separate books. That's what this is.
Oh, okay, so we finally tied this in with Caesar.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Wow, I think that was like his 3rd word he said throughout this entire movie.
That's the thing, Jova. Tragicomics and Panacea are not part of Asterix and the Gladiator. They've just been clumsily inserted into the...
Self-inserted, yeah.
They were literally taken from their original book storyline and put in this other book storyline that they don't belong in.
Also, I noticed that in the far shot from before, Tragicomics look like how Han Solo looks in the cartoon version of the Star Wars Holiday Special. Fitting, because this was still done in the dark age of animation.
You know, Theo, it's like I said in Rise of Son of Rome commentary. This empire deserved to fall. It's a stupid empire.
the hubris were there for happened for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, of course she needs a song.
And we're now in a Disney movie. She sings to...
Actually, no. More like Don't Bluff. This is like that scene in, I forgot the name, An American Tale, where Fievel's sister sings from her window.
For the record, Panacea never sings in any of the books.
No. This is because, animated adaptation, gotta need to shoehorn in a scene.
Again, it's so...
It's only here show that she can sing.
Okay, is it just me, or does the tone feel like it automatically works when
it's off, Jova. It is off.
Like, not just that, to finish your point, Jova. I think I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
It's not only just that, you know, the tone shifts whenever we focus on those two, but even the characters around them suddenly become more serious. Like, oh, that scene where that guy literally tries to rape her here and there suddenly becomes more comedic as soon as they leave the scene, because, well, then when the actor interacts with Asterix and Obelix, hijinks ensue. Like, even Caesar, who, yeah, Caesar was always more serious, but here he seems almost like, well, diabolical in the scene compared to, you know, his usual brand of evilness in the comics.
The comedy from Caesar Jova comes from the fact that he fails and he gets angry at it, but...
Jova has a good point, too, because, yeah, Caesar, of course, is the closest thing this series has to a recurring villain.
Pretty much.
But he always has a good degree of respect for his opponents.
Yeah, like, you know, wasn't the point of 12 Challenges that he had such a good degree of honor that he eventually gave up? Here, don't get me wrong, we will see a bit of that at the very end of this movie, but yeah, like Joe pointed out, the way he just completely, oh, you'd rather die, huh? Okay, your wish is granted. Take
okay, I think it's about to start now. Okay, folks, you're about to see the worst that these animated set of movies can offer, so enjoy.
Not quite yet, Theo. First,
it's progression. It's procedure. No, it starts slowly, but it's about to start now, basically.
Really?
Yes.
Even though this arguably isn't the worst of the Asterix films, would you say it has the worst that they have to offer?
Worst. Well, okay, these are just like one piece that I really don't like. But it's basically about to start, almost in progress right now. But Asterix and the Big Fight is a constant depressing movie.
Wow.
Because, you know, it's a good thing to turn a comedic franchise into a depressing movie.
Like, okay,
I don't even know if there are major examples of that, to be honest.
I feel like there are some examples where it's been done well, or maybe that's just the other way around. Like, okay, look. Making something depressing more comedic, I've always felt has a better chance of working than making something that was comedic more depressing. Okay, I guess maybe we could technically say Batman went from being more comedic to more depressing, like, you know, from like
True, I suppose so.
I guess you could say that one, you know, had more of a balance with its change, though. Whereas, I don't know, okay, it can work, but, you know, like any tone change, it's something that needs to be handled with a lot of care, and I'm sorry, the tone changes in this movie do not feel like they were handled with care.
Alright, if you didn't notice, Asterix accidentally left his magic potion bottle on the bench.
What?
So the thing is, it's about to bite him in the fucking ass.
Which is out of character for him as well, by the way.
I get it. Maybe they're setting up a comedic scene, but Asterix is...
No, they're not, Joe.
No, far from it.
Wait, what?
That's the problem, Joe.
Think the exact opposite.
So, how...
You'll see. Hold on.
Oh.
Actually, I like this one. This is another joke from the book, the Gladiator book. I mean.
Yeah, it works. So.
Hold on. See, yeah, again, you just go read Goscinny's actual books that he wrote.
And the colors get desaturated again. I get it is more fitting because like it's nighttime, but
maybe whoever did the process of putting this on disc didn't do a good job.
So
no, that's a thing to it. I had this movie on VHS. This is really how the movie is supposed to be. This is intentional.
Okay,
this is intentional.
So Asterix has been captured
and brought to jail.
Okay, this wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing. It just means that Obelix has to rescue him, which would be an incredibly easy thing to him to do. In fact, he does that in Asterix and in Britain in a sequel. So that's fine. The problem is that. for some reason, these filmmakers decided we needed more tension.
Oh, God, so they're gonna drag it out, aren't they?
No, they're gonna up the stakes, if you will.
What more is there to... Well, okay, there's plenty they could do to up the stakes, but...
Well, first of all, the fact that the magic potion gets flushed away in the sewers. And I don't know about you, Joe, but the weather is getting worse.
Are we about to go into a nightmare fuel storm?
Yeah.
No. Well...
Oh, he's going to end up drowning, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, because...
But there's a window there.
Remember, Dweebs, he doesn't have his potion, so he doesn't have his super strength.
Not just that, Dweebs. The cell was constructed to be, like a basement. But that's still baffling because the Romans perfected the idea of an aqueduct, meaning that each house could flush away his own water. So this is baffling.
Okay, you know what? I get it. They want to give us a set of stakes by actually, for once, putting Asterix and Obelix, because normally all he need do is just drink the magic potion and whatnot here and there. I guess it's fine. I think the problem was how we got here, though. Like, Asterix literally just forgetting the potion when he is, like, never done that before.
I'm guessing they wanted to, as you're saying right now, I'm guessing they wanted to give Dogmatix something else to do,
The thing is that, as for an example that you mentioned, Asterix and the Britons actually has Dogmatix doing something else on his own, and it's actually better. Here, again, we get these very tense moments where Obelix doesn't want to do. Asterix is about to drown, and Dogmatix is just fucking around in the sewers.
And this is completely pointless. Immediately after it's over, it gets abandoned and never mentioned ever again. You could literally cut this out of the movie and nothing would be lost.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Let me put it like this. In and of itself, it's an interesting scene here and there. But if you're seriously telling me that it kind of really does nothing other than pad out time, I don't know how to feel. For comparison... To compare this to the Mickey, Donald, Goofy Three Musketeers scene, when we had the drowning scene in that was to show the culmination that the three had as a team, to the point where Donald and Goofy actually do come back for Mickey to help save him here and there, which was a very good point for the plot here. Well, that happened.
Yep, that happened, didn't it?
And suddenly it's now back to being more comedic. Hell, the thunderstorm pretty much disappeared too.
Well, you'll have to wait a bit more about resolving what Dogmatix is doing with the potion.
Ah, yes, that.
Again, there's a scene, without spoiling anything, there's a scene during the climax of Secret of Magic Potion where there's a character, I'm not going to say which, don't worry. There's a character that literally threatens to kill another character, which you would think, so it's going to commit the same mistake that this movie is making. No, that's the thing. SGM made it work because not only did the plot build up to that, he still remembered to balance that out with more lighthearted comedic scenes in between stuff. And let's just say again, it's
and I argue even once again on how that movie actually looked. Like I said, the colors are so desaturated in almost all scenes here, but even when the movie is trying to make a joke or adapt a joke from the books, it just doesn't feel as funny because it looks like it's threatening you.
Wow!
I'm actually wondering.
Okay.
I'm actually wondering, Theo, if Astier wanted to prove that that it could be done in the hands of the right people.
Honestly, there's not much even competition. I still argue that the animated adaptation of Asterix and Cleopatra is actually a pretty serviceable one because it still does all the things even with the color.
So I've missed.
Asterix nearly drowned, but Obelix saved him at the last minute, and Dogmatix is trying to get the potion, so hijinks
in the sewers.
And some sewer rats took it.
How do you know she's from Gaul? How would you be privy to that information?
Maybe he's one of the officials or something?
Yeah, isn't he like the beast tamer?
Is he? I don't even remember. I don't think he is, but we'll see. We'll see.
Anyway, though, okay, look, somebody saying, "Oh, I'll kill you," even in something like this, I don't think that's too dark per se. Because let's be honest, part of the goals have been to kill people. It's just actually saying it is, it's fine.
So also, yeah, it's a European product. It's more hardcore.
So yeah, now we're full blown into Asterix and the Gladiator, really.
So let me guess. In this case, the two kidnap goals are used as leverage to force Asterix and Obelix to face off against the Gladiators.
Yeah, there you go, Teo. Now you know where. Remember how we fought that character as one of the final bosses in the game?
They're from these. So.
It's from Gladiator.
Okay.
But yeah, like I was saying, so let me guess. In this version, the two kidnap goals are used as leverage to force Asterix and Obelix to fight a gladiator or something.
They're not forced. They're just doing it because they want to save them. Really, it's not a challenge from Caesar. It's just them infiltrating the Colosseum to save them, basically.
So, what was the original stance of the comic in regards?
Okay, in the original book, the idea was to hold on. I actually want to talk about this scene.
What?
In fact, while this is going, let me get the thing so I can properly describe it to you.
Oh, so they actually are the gladiators.
No, they want to become, basically.
Well, they want to become gladiators, so they offer themselves,
yeah.
Is this true to the comic as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's called Asterix the Gladiator for a reason, obviously.
Oh, well, you guys always referred to it as Asterix and the Gladiator.
No.
It's the Gladiator. If I did, misspoke.
Okay.
Basically, with Jova, what happened? Oh, hold on, actually.
Stop crying.
The sight of a goal pretty much reduces them.
Basically, Jova, the one that actually gets kidnapped in the book is Cacophonix, aka the Bard.
The Bard. You haven't seen him.
And even though the Gauls hate his singing, they still consider him a friend.
That's because, Jova, you haven't seen him at his full power, because the guy is terrible at singing. So the running gag is everyone wants him to shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah.
Well, remind me, Teo. Have any of the animated films before last year's duology?
I think the Viking one, because if it's, I haven't seen the Viking one, but if it's the same as the book, it has to be, because that's how he resolves the climax.
So I'm curious. So yeah, I've noticed he's not even shown up in this movie at all.
Yes, they do. So yeah, the Viking movie should be the one that showcasing full power.
But yeah, that's a good point, though. He's not even in this movie, at least from what I've seen so far. So
no,
you mean the Bard?
No.
Yeah.
No, the Bard is not in this. The Bard doesn't even show up in this movie, even
the final gag.
I actually like this joke as well. This is another joke from the book again, where I'm done. Bye, Caius, and then he just literally
commits Sudoku.
See, the reason this suicide joke works is because it's done entirely over the top, comedic, slapsticky, and you can see he survives in that good old Tom and Jerry, good old fashioned cartoony way. See, you can have humor about this kind of thing in an Asterix. You just have to do it, just completely go all out cartoonish to completely eliminate any possible uncomfortable feeling from the joke.
Was the dog literally in the sewer all night just getting that potion?
Yes.
Yes.
That's kind of a terrifying thought for some reason.
Yes. And by the way, for the record, we're again, the movie's almost over. We're basically 60 minutes in, and yet, at least for me, they felt like an eternity.
Oh, yeah. I'll say this has definitely felt more like a 2-hour movie flick than like an hour and 10.
Oh boy.
So the climax is
the Colosseum.
In fact, the Gladiator book was actually the one that introduced these Romans are crazy line.
Here's one thing I don't get. Why didn't Asterix and Obelix just break in and get the 2 goals? Was it because they didn't have the potion on them, so that's why they snuck in to be gladiators?
I get the idea they wanted to cause a ruckus and just wanted to quietly, stealthily get...
Allow me, because what's the name again? The The Laurel Reef book actually does address that, Jova. Basically, you have to remember, the magic potion gives them super strength, but it doesn't make them immortal. So they still have to be careful not to be stabbed with spears and stuff like that. You know?
Ah, okay.
So yeah, so it's not exactly, you know, sensible to just charge in guns blazing when you're outnumbered.
Okay, all right.
Most of the time, yes, but and this is another thing that also gets addressed in that book. The Roman soldiers in Rome are far stronger and more, you know, they're the best legionnaires that Rome has to offer. So
the Praetorian, basically,
they're not comparable to the ones that surround the village. So that book basically addresses those things, basically.
Although apparently, if you drink enough like Obelix, then you become a lot more durable to that stuff.
Obelix fell into it when he was a child, and basically that granted him super strength for the rest of his life, and yeah, but much more than normal.
It's because technically the Gladiator storyline was the first time that Asterix and Obelix came to Rome and actually properly saw for themselves how the Roman society works. So it makes sense that would be the one to introduce the iconic line.
So we're doing
Ben-Hur.
Well, again, this is one of the primary things of the Roman Colosseum, the chariot races.
Yeah.
Well,
actually, one of the more recent. Hopefully it won't be like the 2016 Ben-Hur where I felt but it's funny, one of the more recent books actually is called Asterix and the Chariot Race. I've actually read it recently, actually pretty good.
Also, the composer remembered that he was supposed to be composing a score.
Yeah, seriously. That's
I'm supposed to make music. Okay.
Again, this is another joke from the book. The poor guy announcing the remaining laps gets more and more trashed by the racers. So,
Jesus Christ, poor Dogmatics.
You're supposed to announce the number of laps, but away from the track, dude.
That has to hurt.
Oh, that's going to leave a mark.
There you go.
And he vanished and he turned into smoke.
There we go.
So, basically he has to resort to cheating.
Oh. Let me actually check the voice Caesar here. Gordon Eve. Oh, this was actually one of his last roles.
Wow, Caesar in this movie has very little patience. He fully knows that this was not Kaiser's fault, and yet he still wants to put him in the arena.
Dang.
Knowing Caesar, he probably was afraid that guy might stage a coup later on.
But yeah, seriously though, Caesar is a lot more sinister in this movie than, well...
So what was Caesar incredibly paranoid?
Yes.
Yes, he was.
Oh,
and he still managed to get fucked by his adopted son and the other conjurers.
Well, Dwebs, obviously he didn't conquer most of Europe by being careless.
Not just that, Dwebs. That's a prerogative of a lot of tyrants, and Caesar was not an exception. Oh.
It's another one from the book, yeah.
You know, okay.
So casually.
I will say this, though. One thing I find a bit weird, I get why Obelix is being casual, but shouldn't...
Yeah, I think, Theo, that post from Caesar, that's you watching this movie, basically.
Kinda.
Anyway, I'll say this, though. If anyone finds it weird that Asterix isn't being more careful himself, like... Dude, in case you've forgotten, you don't even have access to the potion.
That's the problem
currently.
of the tone different, Jova. Remember, Jova, at this point we're actually adapting the book, but we're still including the fact that Asterix doesn't have the potion, so we're just playing straight the scenes from the book, you know, but just leaving the detail out.
Even though he doesn't have the potion, like, okay, if there's one thing I will give Mansion of the Gods, it's like, well, it did show the actual stakes as to what happens when Asterix runs out of potions, so of course, for the most part, he was playing stuff
Jova, if you wanted to say that kind of stake, Asterix and the Big Fight is an entire movie around that.
Seriously? So it's them not taking stuff seriously despite them not having potion?
No. It's a movie that begs the question, what happens when the entire village cannot have the potion anymore for a reason, for a specific reason.
And they play things straight, don't they?
Yeah.
Basically, what happens in the book itself is that the bard is put in the arena to be killed by the lions, and he sings to the Romans and thus frightens the lions into retreat. It's hilarious. It's just as hilarious as you're thinking right now.
But we can't have that.
We can't have that. This is not a bull contest.
Excuse me, Tragicomic, can you speak up a bit?
Yeah, that's another thing. For some reason, they made him nearly a mute in this version, even though he speaks reasonably in the book.
Did the development team loved the animated version of Sleeping Beauty, and we wanted to emulate the fact that neither Aurora nor Philip speaks in the latter half? Oh no.
And there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Did we really need to ring?
Ever wondered what happened to the Roman Colosseum that led
that totally happened.
It was Obelix that did it.
And since then, it always stayed like this.
To be fair, Theo, this is also from the book anyway.
True.
So, okay, plot over. We win.
Actually, Caesar kind of agrees with you, Joe. Hold on.
So he likes it, or is he being sarcastic?
Or maybe he's just so done with all this at the minute that he has to inwardly laugh and be crying.
Dang.
For now.
Yeah, there you go. See, this is the bit that I was talking about. He even said Caesar's kindness is boundless. So out of respect for how they fought so well, he decides to give them freedom.
There you go. There's the bug in the corner.
Okay.
But yeah, we cut immediately to the feast.
So here's my question. What was up with him acting so sinister throughout this movie?
I don't know,
Tonal difference, Jova.
He felt like it.
Once again, this is also the movie that, okay, to be fair, this is what happens also at the end of Asterix and Legionnaire, but it changes a bit the status quo, because at the end of each movie, we have the running gag of a bard wanting to sing, and he gets bound up and gagged on a tree. But in this movie, instead, we don't have that, and instead have Asterix now being in love with Panacea.
Why?
For some reason.
Why?
And keep in mind, Jova, that's how the story ends also in the book for some reason.
That's kind of clumsy. Also, never mind the fact that Obelix still had feelings for her literally a few minutes ago in the plot, because that's why he crashed into stuff. But...
And yeah, we end the movie again with the song at the beginning. So, yeah, we went on this kind of sad shot of Asterix being depressed, even though the book actually ends with him having a more romantic expression to it.
Why?
What a fucking mess.
Wait, and that's the ending shot?
That's over.
That's the end of the
Jesus Christ, that's depressing.
I can only imagine the cinemas all across France when people were watching this, they were looking at each other like, wait, that's it.
I think this went direct to video.
This went direct to video, I think. Yeah.
Either way, though.
Okay, so homes all across France.
No, I'm sorry. This isn't it.
All right, final thoughts. Who wants to start?
Can I go first?
Go ahead. Yeah.
I've got the least to say. it was a movie. Stuff happened. There were like 1 or 2 funny bits, but other than that, it's not really. It's just kind of forgettable. I'll probably forget about this in like a day or 2.
I don't blame you.
Well, again, you know, from what I understand and from what I can tell, it seems as though others seem to forget that this exists, even those that are fans of Asterix.
Yeah. I was going to ask, what's the
Although maybe, I suppose, maybe better that than whatever the hell happened in 2005 with this series. But
what?
That was the year the Falling Sky came out.
Yeah. The basic gist of it is that this movie takes 2 great books and strips them of almost all likability.
So what's the overall gist of it? So what's the overall fan consensus of this movie?
The movie does have its fans, as far as I can tell, but people don't usually prop this up as like a beacon of Asterix media. Not really.
When it comes to the, like I said, when it comes to the animated movies, the people's top 3, well, before the 2 CGI animated, mind you, the top 3 that people had was the Vikings, America, and Cleopatra. That was that. You can skip basically all the other one if you want.
So I guess I've technically apparently seen one of the most popular ones. Well, again, part of it, like the second half of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah.
You're done, Wibs?
Yep, done.
Java.
Oh boy, what a mess this is. Like, it starts off with some interesting first impressions with the upscaled animation, but man, the tone is highly inconsistent. The 2 new Gull characters, I can't even really be bothered to remember their names. They're just bland. Like, okay, the idea of them looking so different to the point where they look more like anime characters, that doesn't inherently bug me. What does bug me is how they look like they were made in a completely different time date. And, you know, yeah, I get it, they were, but it feels a little too obvious. But, again, the problem is like, well, the main catalyst of the plot is that they're kidnapped. Problem is, I don't really care about them that much. They don't really have much to them here and there. And the whole Obelix falling in love with the woman, yeah, that was a thing. Until it wasn't, and now Asterix is, to the point where now he looks depressed at this ending screen. Like, jeez. That's like just introducing a plot point for misery's sake, goddammit. The music is good and fine, but the tone, the inconsistent tone is actually kind of annoying here, honestly. And the meshing of the plots doesn't work well, especially since from what I've heard, it sounds like the book versions were more interesting. Like, hell yeah, it would be cool to see Asterix and Obelix actually helping out the Roman Empire for once. Or seeing the Bard cause the defeat in the end for the Gladiator one, too. But, no, we got whatever the hell this is. Like, it's definitely, to me, one of the lower points of the franchise from what I've seen so far. And it's quite a darn shame, too, because there are interesting ideas here, some of which do come through, but, of course, then just kind of get tossed aside. Especially Asterix and Obelix joining the Roman Empire. Like, that plot point pretty much just got thrown out. And yeah, the tone can change on a dime. Like, 1 minute, it's a super grim tone. Next, it's more happy-go-lucky. Then it's like, oh, this man wants to rape this woman. And then it's just, oh, hijinks with Asterix and Obelix here and there. And I know, And okay, if they tried to do it comedically, messed up as that may be, maybe they could do it in a way that's cartoonish enough, but they don't. They play it up actually pretty seriously. To the point where, like I said, it feels like everything and everyone around the 2 new Gauls just becomes more serious when they're around. Especially Caesar, who is uncharacteristically sinister in this movie. And it's weird because the last movie was the 12 Challenges of Asterix. It's like if you went from Eggman in, say...
Didn't you tell me that Eggman Nega actually is actually more sinister than his normal counterpart?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the point, though. He's Eggman.
So maybe that's the comparison we're looking for, you know, Sonic Crush.
Okay. I guess it's like if you went from Eggman and then suddenly converted him into Eggman Nega without actually changing the character. It's that weird and different. I mean, it was fun watching it with you guys, but it doesn't feel like something I'd really be in any rush to rewatch. Whereas, say...
Again, you shouldn't. Go read Asterix and the Legionary instead. It's a good book.
And Asterix and the Gladiator. That one is also a really good book.
Yeah, you know, I have no doubts in that, and I probably will check that out when I get the chance here. But as for this movie, thumbs down.
As for
Next.
me, okay, yeah, like Jova said, this is the big problem with this. Again, allow me to once again draw attention to that joke where the guy's all like, "Okay, I'm done. Bye, Caius." And then, where are you going? I'm leaving this all behind, and then he just falls from the window and slaps himself on the ground, Tom and Jerry style. See, the reason that joke works, despite being technically a character committing suicide, is because the movie immediately, again, this is a joke from the book, of course. The reason it works because Goscinny immediately prevents you from even beginning to feel uncomfortable, because it doesn't matter. This is a freaking cartoon, and complete, and whatever possible uncomfortable feel you may have is straight away from you, because this character cannot even die. He's like a Tom and Jerry character. But then when we have something akin to Panacea being sexually assaulted by one of the prefects for no goddamn reason.
And again, that scene has no comedic tone whatsoever, and you can definitely feel it.
And then there's the whole Asterix nearly drowning scene while the dog has
played once again completely dramatic and straight.
And that's with Asterix and Obelix of all characters too.
It's one of the big reasons why these scenes don't work is because, it's also because they come out of nowhere. Like, again, maybe a much better writer like Alexander Astier could maybe make this somewhat work, but clearly not this writer. Clearly not.
And it's so weird because he checked that this guy apparently was friend with Goscinny and Uderzo, so he should know this kind of stuff.
I almost forgot to mention, but the padding was a pain too. Like, it's obvious something's happened just to pad out the runtime here and there.
Yep.
But
yeah, that's the basic gist of it. Allow me to also just continue what I was saying and just give a basic gist of Asterix and the Gladiator. Like, most of the Asterix and the Legionnaire storyline is in here, so it works. It ends up working out relatively fine but as for the Asterix and the Gladiator, most of it is kind of left out. The idea is that, again, like, basically what happens, to basically sum up real quick, there's a prefect from Rome that comes in and he wants to capture one of the indomitable Gauls as a present for Caesar. However, since, not all of them are crazy and wild animals, as this movie puts them, obviously they go for the weaker link, the bard. So they kidnap Cacophonix. Asterix and Obelix go to Rome to save him, blah, blah, blah. Hijinks ensue. And eventually they realize he's being basically going to be fed to the lions. So they become gladiators, specifically so they can get into the Colosseum and save him. Then we have that scene in the comics that I already mentioned where Cacophonix starts singing in the middle of the Colosseum because, oh my god, an audience! I finally get to sing to sophisticated Romans who understand my art. And he starts singing, the lions run away, the people in the audience start clanging their ears and booing and shit. So it's a classic Cacophonix scene, basically.
Yeah.
And after that, Asterix and Obelix intervene. They become, and then now, and Cacophonix is now fully willing to go because the Romans clearly don't get his art as well. So they go back, they have a feast, and triumphant return. And the book is, and like I said, one of the most big thing that the Asterix and the Gladiator book has is the fact that it was the one that famously introduced the catchphrase of the series: "These Romans are crazy." So that's the basic gist of it. So go read the book. It's much better. I can tell you that. Aside from that, this movie is. Teo finishes off.
Sure, this is just bad for me. Even when, like I said, even when they try to actually have jokes, either original or imported from either one of the books or a bit of the third one that Pedro mentioned, it just doesn't work for me because, again, the overall way this is animated, the actual animation of the character is fine, more fluid, as Dweebs pointed out at the beginning, but the color palette is just off, completely off. When the movie is not going Zack Snyder mode by having everything settled down and everything super serious, even the more comedic moments have this aggressive aura to it. Like I said, for example, the joke where Asterix and Obelix have to, while being legionaries, they have to move towards the ships, and the joke is that with the aid of a magic potion, they take charge of everyone else's baggages, while the actual centurions get left behind because they're not in shape. That joke is fun in the book because it happens during the day, but the movie showcased this in this aggressive orange of the dusk that makes it look like the sun is exploding behind or something. And again, it doesn't contribute at all. This is not mentioning also how the tone is super inconsistent, like mentioned. One moment the movie tries to do the classic humor, like mentioned, straight from the book, cartoonish and all. The other, the actual humor comes to a screeching halt, and the movie pretends that it's serious. This is like watching one of the very bad Family Guy episodes that tries to have super serious moments about talking about how rape is so not funny, while immediately following with a cutaway gag just with desaturated colors. That's basically what it is watching this movie. No, this is just... It takes two products. It adapts bad from either of them, I argue, because given the portion from Asterix and Asterix the Legionary is not really that great when transposed here. So it's just a mess. And this was the property was done 9 years after 12 Tasks of Asterix. I can tell you this, the movie that was done after this, Asterix in Britain, is much, much better. So at least we got a bit back up with the tone. Then they fuck immediately up again with Asterix and the Big Fight. But it was basically uphill from there. So yeah, that's it even from me. So tune into whatever one of these animated adaptation of Asterix books will do next. Who knows? We'll see.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
See ya.